Hi, we're Audiovisual Design Group, but you can call us AVDG for short. Over the last decade, we've grown to become one of the largest technology integrators in the United States. Our journey began in 1996 when the Macarena was the #1 song in America, and a guy named Robert Sharfer founded AVDG in Silicon Valley. From the beginning, everything we did was rooted in the philosophy that technology integration should be exceptional by design. Exceptional tech, exceptional people, exceptional spaces. To achieve this, we became laser focused on process. Employees were thoroughly trained, projects followed a consistent workflow, and customers received outstanding service and guidance, no matter the size or scope of the project. Before long, AVDG was working with top companies in tech industries, both in the Bay Area and overseas, including Oracle, Wells Fargo, and Google. AVDG wasn't just a commercial integrator. We also worked in high-end residential environments. Across California, we partnered with homeowners, renowned architects and developers, including Troon Pacific, Michael Lee, and Robert Hidley. We built lasting relationships through our support division, providing solutions for technology updates, upgrades, and everything in between, while continuing to grow. Through acquisition, AVDG expanded across the country. We acquired TVTI in Chicago, which had built a reputation for its partnerships with architectural firms, builders, and MDUs. This was a perfect fit for AVDG because TVTI was already known for its innovative solutions, which created value for developers and end clients too. TVTI's award-winning approach led them to produce integrations that have touched most of the Chicago skyline. Their work can be found in the city's most prominent towers, upscale condominiums, and residential buildings, as well as other developments across the United States. Next, AVDG acquired Maverick Integration on the East Coast, which was another perfect fit. Maverick had done incredible AV projects throughout 2 million square feet of some of the finest homes in New England, New York, and the Caribbean. Maverick was one of the first integrators to take an engineering and design approach for residential projects, which allowed them to create innovative solutions based on each client's space and needs. Their specialty was finding smart ways to integrate technology in the construction of these exquisite homes so that usable living space was not compromised, while enhancing architectural features through lighting design and other custom solutions. In the process, Maverick worked with many award-winning firms to refine what they could deliver to a client and what the homeowner's experience would be. These acquisitions have been an important part of AVDG's success story. Today, AVDG is now ranked among the biggest and most successful integrators in the country, with 7 locations across the US. So, what sets AVDG apart? While every technology project is unique, we use a proven process that ensures success every time. We refer to this process as FLOW, or frictionless operating workflow. Flow enables our team to work smarter and faster. Each project is defined by roles and milestones that allow team members to work in their individual swim lanes while also contributing to the big picture. Every aspect of a project has a defined process, from the initial sale to the final client handoff. We keep in close contact with our project stakeholders, including general contractors, designers, and electricians, to ensure we stay on track. All this is done digitally across multiple projects simultaneously, that we can quickly redirect teams, adjust scheduling, and define new milestones as needed. Our process extends beyond the project completion. Clients receive ongoing support and remote system monitoring, ensuring fewer headaches and maximum system uptime. For AVDG, it means an increased customer lifecycle and the opportunity for additional projects in the future. Our process is the secret to our success and is what allows us to grow, expand to new markets, and merge with new teams, and while maintaining the consistent quality service we're known for. As we at AVDG continue to grow and innovate our industry, our process will continue to play a vital role in the story of our success.
Hello, and it is my honor to welcome you to the beginning of our playoff run here at the Midwest Esports Conference. My name is Reed and Wright. I'm going to be your play-by-play for the first two games here, and I'm joined by Shibby over here to my left. But Shibby, thank you for joining me. Appreciate you being here.
I'm excited. Playoffs, Reed.
It is.
Everybody's 0-0. Regular season, if you had a good one, if you had a bad one, it don't really matter anymore. Everybody is winless. Everybody is lossless. You start out 0-0. This is where you rewrite history, right? No pun intended, Reed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am a one with the puns. The name is a part of it. So anything you got, please throw my way. I'm more than happy to catch it. So let me give you a quick I'll give you a quick reminder here. This is a double elimination bracket. If you're not caught up on the MEC Pod, a podcast that's going on currently for the Unified program that Shibby, you do a very good job of taking a part of, it is double elimination, and there is a potential for a rematch in every scenario. So right now, we've got PNW and Briarcliff. That is going to be our first matchup of the day. And this is a close matchup, Shibby. I want to kind of tease it by saying the fact that both of these teams went to 3 games in the regular season, and they traded wins. It was first Purdue Northwest taking the win over Briarcliff, and then Briarcliff getting a little bit of revenge later on in the season. So this could be our closest matchup in the first round.
I would have to 100% agree with you, Reed. I think, if we define the term upset as a lower seeded team beating a higher seeded team, then yeah, there's this possibility that Purdue Northwest can kind of come out with the win. I think, given the recency, like you said, BCU has kind of won that war. It's like, well, they got their get back, they got the revenge. They've obviously ended up as a higher seed, but both of these teams have kind of been doing a little bit of roster changes. Briarcliff has been kind of swapping players around positions. Purdue Northwest obviously have swapped their mid laner out a couple weeks ago now, and they've kind of finally, I believe, found their groove kind of heading towards the end of the season. As we kind of get a look at the rosters here, I think this is the closest match that we'll if seeding and everything it goes the way of what we think, and we assess the player strengths and team strengths correctly, Reed, yeah, this possibly could go the distance, 3 games. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and the matchups offer a lot. As far as excitement here, there's a lot of champion diversity, at least in the regular season. And even between the games, we went from a 3-game straight of Alawi top into just every champion under the sun afterwards. So honestly, not too sure of what to expect champion wise, as far as tendencies with some of the patches that have occurred, but play styles we can absolutely jump into. And one of those play styles I want to talk about specifically has been what you see here, Subject to Flame, that is immune to Flame for anybody who's been watching throughout the regular season, jumping into the mid lane role here for Purdue Northwest, being one of their standout performers in the last few weeks. The results haven't quite been there, but it has been a positive trajectory here on the side of the Pride.
Yeah, I think he passes the eye test, right? Hey, what's happening here as we see Purdue Northwest with No You Stink. I believe it is Tiger Star now in that jungle role, Solentric in the top lane. But yeah, I think Subject to Flame or Immune to Flame has definitely stepped it up. It was a little bit a bit of a hard beginning, but I think they've kind of eased it up a little bit. It was Solentric with a nice solo kill into that top lane. I think these guys are good League of Legends players. I think that's clear as day. I think where Purdue Northwest is going to try to look to kind of strike while the iron is hot, in my opinion, is because BCU has been playing this kind of musical chairs with their roster. Onk in the top lane now, Pete in the jungle, and Maces in mid. We've seen these guys interswap jungle mid top all season, right? Really the only stability has been that Zolani Belko bot lane. And I think that's where you can kind of say, hey, these guys, they just haven't really synergized together, right? They're swapping up their mid jungle consistently. We've had Immune to Flame. we've had Tiger Star here. These guys have been playing together for a couple weeks now. Let's use this mid jungle synergy to kind of inflict and really just kind of affect the map in a positive way and kind of win this match against BCU, who is technically the higher seeded team. But I think like I said, this might be an upset, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, you said it before, broadcast in our little rundown ahead of time. Upset maybe in the sense of a seeding, but the teams couldn't feel closer. And in fact, maybe some consider PNW to be the favorite. But I mean, this is where we come into, is this BCU, can they find the right formula? I talked about earlier, once again, ahead of the broadcast, how some of these roster swaps can be a little knee-jerky in a sense, but having some of those roster swaps can give you a deeper understanding of the game. Whenever you're a jungler and you've had an opportunity to lane through mid, lane through top, and you get a good understanding of what you need at what times and when. Before that, it's all speculation. Once you've lived it, you've got a better understanding of the game as a whole. And so maybe that's what they're trying to tap into here, get a more holistic understanding between that top quadrant on the side of BCU. But it all pans out on the Rift. We've got potentially 3 games to sort it out here. And if our regular season has any indication of that fact, we will do exactly that. Talking about some of the other players on the teams here, one that I want to mention that you talked about ahead of time was Udon Bidon and how much you like him on those roaming supports. With some of the meta changes and things like that, is that something that you think we are going to see for sure, or potentially just matchup dependent?
I mean, he has been playing recently. I think the Rakan, the Bard, the Leona, right? These are champions that are very good when they roam, right? One of the champions or two of the champions are pretty much designed to kind of affect the rest of the map, right? I think if you unlock Udon out of that bottom lane, you let Topona kind of do his thing, grab some farm up, be relevant. This team just plays much better when Udon and the jungler, in this case Tiger Star, just kind of roaming the map as like a duo jungle squad almost, right? Like it's almost like you're facing 2 junglers here. And hopefully, I'm praying that we don't see this champion come into the game at all, because that kind of negates everything about the support role in terms of roaming, right? I mean, the only fan have designed the chip.
Oh, sorry. The only fan that I was going to say that is the Observer, given the fact that one of the lanes you can completely ignore at that point. And it becomes that much easier for the first 15 minutes of the game. So Observers, sorry about the rework, or maybe you're happy about it, depending on where she lands on the power scale. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah. I don't think that's going to be a good roaming support here for Udon in that case.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple supports in the league that like to play those really kind of hard, best friendship kind of lanes. I think the #1 team, Ottawa Braves, Coda, a fantastic Yuumi player. I think if they put him on Yuumi, I think that's where he's best. So I think that's honestly what we could see here. But I think for some of these lower teams, they definitely need to kind of impact the map a little bit more. They need to kind of help their mid laner out, help their jungle and top lane out, and just kind of, be a menace on the map. And I think that's kind of the evolution of support as we kind of get into these games. We are heading into draft in a little bit, and I did get to talk to Briarcliff's coach afternoon, and he mentioned that he's got something spicy cooked up. A spicy draft, a spicy strat. He said, it doesn't involve Skarner. I'm not going to reveal it yet, but when you see it, you'll know it. Yeah, so I'm excited. Briarcliff has definitely been in the lab for this series, so I'm excited for, week 1 of playoffs, game 1 of playoffs between these 2 teams. I really think we're going to get a 3-game banger.
Yeah, and this is where the context really matters, right? Are we talking about draft? Are we talking about play style? Is this going to be some wild meta-breaking opportunity where, we just saw in LCS with the Scion, which we've seen before, the Scion lane swap, stuff like that, potentially a lane swap incoming here, or some sort of roaming top lane that we've seen before. I mean, it's hard to break the meta. It's hard to innovate without having done it already in that sense.
Yeah.
It sounds like they may have found something. So we in big note as well, we quote unquote won't know until we see it. So
yeah,
it's Christmas for us.
Yeah, and you know, one of the famous quotes that I love to always list, you know, if I don't know what I'm doing, then the enemy team clearly doesn't know what I'm doing. I think the best strategy, confusion, pocket sand, however you want to say it, will be, you know, in BCU's favor, as the bans are going pretty steadily the same. You know, Cassante, Ilawi, obviously you mentioned Briarcliff University likes to kind of play those champions, kind of diving into the champion pools. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Viego ban here. Pete has played that mid. He's played it jungle. He's been able to pop off very, very well on it, regardless of kind of the role he's in. Briarcliff, though, standardizing the bans a little bit more. Tiger Star's Udyr is one to fear. I think we've been blessed, Reed, with a lot of good Udyr players in the MEC, which has been a treat for me because it's one of my favorite champions. Unfortunately, it does get banned out. Immune to Flames, Syndra gets taken away as well. So they're kind of removing some of that 2v2 strength, that really high burst, you know, really, really strong mid lane synergy with Syndra, plus whatever kind of aggressive jungle you want to go. I think BCU kind of has the same game plan that we were thinking about. Like, hey, shut down this mid jungle duo. Let Zolani and Belko kind of put in work on their respective champions. Very big Zeri player, very big Rakan player in those two. I think that's when they look their best. So if BCU can kind of grab those for themselves, they've kind of already solidified that, hey, we have a bot lane carry presence ready to go.
Yeah, and it's 2 top lane bans and a support ban here on the side of Purdue Northwest. The Alawi picked 3 times in BCU's win against Purdue Northwest in their most recent matchup, so not too surprising there. But as far as those top lane contested picks, it really there's overlap in style, but less overlap in champions themselves. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see either top lane come last for BCU and blind picked on the side of PNW. Oh, excuse me 1 sec.
Yeah, just on my
okay,
end.
there we go. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. You were muted.
Yeah.
You were muted. If you want to go again, I would love to.
I think
it sounded like you're super passionate
about
the point. Yeah.
Yeah, Broadcast was able to pick that up. Sorry, in Discord did not. But I assumed that we're going to get a fairly obvious PNW blind pick on top side, unless BCU has something that they feel like cannot be countered on the side of Onk. So draft I see going the way of bottom lane jungle and then mid lane top, based on just the bans themselves.
Yeah, I think also banning that Rakan out. It's interesting to see that they banned it on red side. Belko probably wanting to play something else. Here's the Zeri pick. That's probably Zolani's best champion in that bot lane. They've played it a lot, right? She really likes piloting the Zeri, and I've seen her pop off on it before. So I think that's just provides, like we said, that stability in that bot lane. I wouldn't be surprised if they rotate their support here as well in the R1, R2 or BCU. They can pair it up with something like the Yuumi, which has been left open.
There we
That's
go.
what I was suspecting. The Zeri Yuumi.
Yep.
Purdue Northwest. Leave the cat open. I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if they don't respect it. Maybe they've got a pick that we don't know about. I've seen Singed kind of played into the Yuumi, right? Carrier, the mad scientist that he is in LCK, has played so many different champions. Lehans as well. I think both of those guys have drafted some, but they are going to just probably take the Nautilus here, which is pretty good. Forcing the detach. Yeah, forcing it onto Zeri. We've seen kind of, regardless of how mobile she is, you unfortunately cannot outrun a Nautilus R. Once that thing's on you, it's hunting you down to the ends of the earth here. So I like the pick, but it's going to be a little rough for them because the Zeri Yuumi is now like a poke kind of mage support almost, right? With her Q damage, enhance, and if she gets like the extra ability damage. Yeah, she's not as passive as we saw, as we do get Draven here. And Reed, are you a Draven fan? Is that your favorite champion?
No, I not at all. Actually, the only AD carry I feel like I cannot play because the Axe minigame, the opponent doesn't exist. Only thing that matters is the Axis. Sure, I might lose all of my stacks because I died trying to catch one and Blitz has the most obvious hook of his life. But I do love this pick in much more capable hands because this is an aggressive bot lane. You already have your engage, correct? This is Nautilus and Sejuani. You're done. You're done. You've got it. That's all you need. And all the rest is damage and follow-up. And right here, we've got Draven, attack speed and movement speed steroid built into the kit, and damage for days. This is a popular counter into the lane. We've got an opportunity to roll the lane given the weak early games from both Yuumi and Zeri. So this is PNW throwing down the gauntlet, asking BCU to get to the late game because they don't think they can.
Yeah, I mean, BCU even drafting more of that late game presence.
Yeah.
Right? Ornn as well in the top lane. Will be interesting to see kind of how they draft their jungle and mid lane. I want to see something a little bit more aggressive in the early game because nothing is worse than kind of playing jungle for 3 scaling lanes. You pretty much can't do a lot, right? You kind of have to play more reactively rather than proactively. And if you're on that reactive side, you have to track the jungler, you have to be there for the counter ganks, you have to make sure that your lanes are in order. And playing jungle with these kinds of lanes can be really, really rough. And I don't know what Pete and Maces are going to end up kind of filling for their mid jungle here. But I do want to see something more aggressive. I do want to see something that has a lot of power, right? Because like you said, New Northwest, threw down the gauntlet. They said, you know what? We're gonna pressure you early. We're gonna make you hurt. We're gonna punish you for saying, hey, you don't think we can end it in less than 25 minutes. Well, here you go. We've got the most, stomp lane kind of presence here. We've got a Sejuani here for the early ganks. Is now the Silas being taken away from Maces here, as well as 2 top lane bans, Camille and Fiora. So Lendrick kind of feeling the pain a little bit.
Yeah, and this is not only a pick of Ornn on the side of BCU, but it's a pick away on the side of PNW because I offered an opportunity for BCU to take the counter pick. Instead, they opted to pick the most blind pickable champion they deemed worthy at the time and ban literally maybe their only 2 hard counters in Camille and Fiora. So now you get a bit more of a soft counter on the side of PNW, and the mid lane on the side of BCU is going to be the one that's going to have an opportunity to counterpick. And a Kane coming through. Oh, okay. Shibby, I'm going to need some insight.
It's Kane? Kane's not really a champion, I'm going to be honest. Are we going to see the Poppy here, though?
Great counter. Look at the team.
100% agree.
Zeri jump. Yuumi jump. Ornn E. No.
Oh,
okay, wait. They can still pick the Poppy. They can still pick the Poppy. I love the Poppy here, but yeah, like 4 mobility champions that not only is their disengage dependent on it, their engage is dependent on it. And so this is PNW saying you are not allowed to pick any fights for yourself or keep from us picking fights.
I'm gonna wait until the timer ticks down.
Yeah, I know. This is classic. Yeah, this is classic. No, we know. There's nowhere it could go. This isn't a Sejuani top.
Yeah.
Gwen mid. Man.
Yeah,
I've been baited.
Yeah, I mean that's MEC will do that to you. I promise you that. I've been baited by a lot of UDRvers. I think we can kind of talk about the Kane pick a little bit. Really rough to kind of understand where he's going to go to farm stacks. Ideally, I think this is more of a red Kane situation here for himself, right? I think going blue Kane into Purdue Northwest, unless you're looking to kind of just sort of one-tap the Draven, who most likely is going to opt in for something like the Essence Reaver, Eclipse, maybe Bloodthirster. Like you said, he doesn't need a lot of attack speed. Typically forgoes attack speed until maybe even potentially the 5th item, but a lot of the time you will just see a raw full damage build from him. And with the 80 carry item changes, with the kind of overheal changes, you get a lot of shielding from Bloodthirster, overheal, Eclipse, Essence Reaver, all this kind of different high damage, high AD items here. But a lot of this screams for BCU like, hey, we're just gonna early game farm it up. We're not gonna be looking to kind of push the agenda here. We're not gonna be looking to push too many objectives. But once we get to that 25-30 minute mark, as long as they don't fall too far behind, right? 2,000, 3,000 gold, they're in a really good position to kind of just start taking fights and winning based off of just the inherent value of their champions, right? Purdue Northwest tried to match it here with the Gwen into Ornn. I like this pick. I think Gwen gets a pretty fairly free lane here. She's allowed to farm up. She's allowed to be this backline dive threat, right? She doesn't, like you said, you don't need any more CC. The Draven and the Gwen, you know, they kind of just say, hey, we're going to bring a lot of damage, and that's all we're good for here. We've got a Lissandra, we've got a Sejuani, we've got a Nautilus, we've got all this lockdown, and as long as they don't burn it on just one person, they can continuously take subsequent fights, right? Glacial Prison, one enemy. Then you use the Frozen Tome on another. Then in case they get away, or maybe you want to set something up, you do the Nautilus into the Frozen Tome, or the Nautilus into the Glacial Augment, right? You've got this main CC and follow-up CC for pretty much any situation here. And God forbid Zolani steps out of place. This is definitely a cleanse match, but this might just be like a cleanse plus, you know...
Mikhail's,
QS, like there's a lot to be thrown at you. How much value does cleanse get out of this versus how much value do you get if you maybe take another defensive summoner? I mean, yeah, you can cleanse the Glacial Augment, you can cleanse the Frozen Tome, but it's really hard to cleanse the Nautilus knockup and everything like that. So BCU have definitely drafted themselves an early game composition. The Galio kind of looks to, once he hits level 6, if he sees a gank in the bot lane, if he sees them trying to 4-man dive, 3-man dive, right? He could throw his ultimate on top and provide some of that protection. But a lot of these lanes, a lot of these matchups don't scream to me, hey, I'm going to be hard winning this. It more like says, we're going to survive, we're going to outlast, we're just going to win the war of attrition.
Yeah, and looking into some of those late game scenarios, if PNW ends up with a lead that we expect maybe out of the laning phase, given the opportunities that their champions provide, you've got mid lane gank set up on Lissandra, every jungler's dream as far as a mid lane champion, especially into a melee matchup like Galio, something that's just looking to facilitate later on. It's the side lane from this Gwen that might go a little unmatched. Ornn is not going to match you in the side lane. Kayn is definitely not going to match you in the side lane. If you're sending Galio, it is just a matter of time before Gwen chops you up and puts you into the dirt. But this is game 1 here as we load into the Rift. Purdue Northwest and Briarcliff on our first series here in the MEC playoffs. Let's get it underway.
Yeah, and I love how you mentioned kind of that side lane pressure and how if Solendric gets far enough ahead, realistically, what are they going to do about him? They can't just send one person. If they're sending 2 people, if they're sending a duo mid-top or mid-jungle or even this bot lane to match, they're losing out on every objective. They're going to lose out on every sort of kind of any presence around Dragon, around Baron, around Rift Herald. So it'll be rough. I think Briarcliff's game plan is going to be try to gank Solendric and kind of keep him even, if not below, Onk here in that top lane. Like you said, gank setup wise, Kayn, in my opinion, again, he's not really a champion until he gets one of his forms. This, like I said, screams to me a red Kayn form. If he gets fed enough, you could make the argument for blue Kayn. Maybe look to burst out the Draven, burst out the Gwen. They do really kind of have a low damage kind of composition here as we are kind of heading into a slight pause. All right, I think that's maybe where you can kind of look at Purdue and say, well, they only have Gwen and they only have Draven. Definitely front loaded on the damage, don't get me wrong. Gwen eventually scales up to that really, really insane level where she's shredding through your team with needlework. But you can kind of say, hey, if I go blue Kayn here, if I'm good 1-for-1 every single time, if I'm good for my one onto the Gwen, onto the Draven, then I definitely believe Zolani, Ornn, like these guys, like I said, will just win that war of attrition. Zolani on the Zeri, a lot better at navigating these team fights, a lot more mobile, a lot more, just harder to lock down, especially with the Ghost and the Flash here. And if you have Yuumi on top of you, you become that much harder to kill. So I think if the argument for blue Kayn is made, it's only if he's really fed and only if you can guarantee that I'm going to go 1-for-1 every single time, Draven or Gwen will die in every team fight.
Yeah, and I believe, looking just at the runes with the Conqueror, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I am not a jungler, but it feels like Conqueror would be red Kayn solely, but I could see an opportunity for blue Kayn to use it. Does the rune choice change any of the perception here?
I mean, there are some shenanigans you go with, like electrocute blue Kayn, right? Like I've seen Dark Harvest. I think Conquer is just one of those runes that kind of lends itself to both forms pretty well, but it is obviously advantageous for red form, right? You're sticking in the fights, you have the CC, you have a lot of this health vamp and lifesteal and everything like that. Not that it's bad on blue Kayn, right? I wouldn't say there's an objectively better choice for him in that sense. So it still kind of leaves that option open for him. But it definitely lends itself like, hey, Red Kayn gets a lot more value out of it.
Yeah. For some of the opportunities here, bottom lane getting a lot of pressure, already pushing up to the tower. They should have lane control as long as they want it. The only time that they're going to have a bad back is if there's jungle interference. And looking right now, Kayn, Autofill Pete there on the Kayn, going into the red side jungle of Purdue Northwest, and is going to be able to take one, maybe two camps, depending on some of the pressure here from Galio starting on the Raptors.
Yeah, really smart from Pete to kind of start using this invade power. Maybe he understands that, like, not everybody can kind of come and help at the moment. He's going to go Raptors into what looks like the Krugs. Really smart pathing here. So Sejuani most likely going to be opting for her red, so he's not going to really just understand that my jungle is just being taken right from underneath me. Doesn't go for the scuttle as well. He'll essentially get a 2-camp lead off of that. Because of that 16 to 24 CS, he's going to end up picking that Scuttle Crab up in the top lane along with his Krugs. Very, very creative pathing from Pete, and I like what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, loses the bot Scuttle Crab, but there's no reason for Tiger Star to assume that the top one hasn't already been taken. So really, Autofill Pete loses nothing, gets a decent back off with 2 longswords, and starts the clear over again at Gromp heading topside for that aforementioned Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, he's just going to kind of reverse clear up topside here. His lanes not in the most trouble here. When you draft these kinds of safe lanes, you're essentially saying, like, hey, you guys might go down a little early. Let me put in work. Let me try to outsmart the jungle. Let me outpath him. And right now, because of that, he's going to get a nice little camp lead, and he might even get an EXP lead and tick level 6 before Tiger Star. Tiger Star not really knowing what to do here. You see, like, he's just kind of pathing back and forth, seeing maybe, is Pete going to gank? Is he in the bot lane? No, he's just farming. He's just outpathing. And right now, a level 3 to level 4, this guy's going to back. He has boots. He's got a pot, and that's it. Like, he's not going to be able to pick anything else up. Yeah, he upgrades his boots. That is a Swifty Sejuani versus a double longsword Kayn. If they ever cross paths, if they ever meet up, this Kayn can really put the hurt down on him.
Yeah, and the lane is frozen here on the bottom side. Both junglers heading to the top end. There's no way for the Zeri Yuumi to truly break it unless they do something crazy and there's a misplay on the side of Purdue Northwest. So yeah, it's bad for the Sejuani here, but pretty good for the bottom lane on the side of Purdue Northwest. A bit of a trade in resources. It just depends on where you want that advantage to be. Unfortunately for the side of Purdue Northwest, Dragon is going to be next contested. We've got Herald coming up soon, and if Kayn maintains this lead, those are going to be tough objectives to win. Yeah, with Dragon and Herald being on the menu, like I said, it is Kayn with that advantage that is going to dictate the pace.
Yeah, I think the thing to look at right now is kind of how the lanes are going at the moment. Yeah, you're seeing some slight CS leads on the side of some of these solo lanes, but really Taponer kind of putting in the work, 56 to 32 CS right now. Like you said, throwing the gauntlet down, saying, hey, we're going to make you pay. You're playing Yuumi Zeri. You're never going to be able to walk up to this wave. You're never going to be able to contest us for CS. You're not going to be able to trade onto us. You're going to have to kind of sit there, catch as many of these minions under your wave, under your tower as possible. And while that's happening, we're going to take turret plates. We're going to pressure early dragons. I think the way Purdue Northwest wins this, because Tiger Star is just right now getting out path at the moment, start forcing these early objectives, saying, hey, my lanes are strong. My mid lane is really strong. My bot lane is really strong. We have more power. It's a BF Vamp Scepter Draven right now. He is going to chunk you out if you're anybody named Zolani or Pete, as now the solo kill potentially comes in.
Yeah, the Shroud's going to block the Call of the Forge God, but the follow-up is true. The CC is too strong, but Gwyn has an opportunity. No, the charge is going to lock it in, and First Blood going the way of Ankh and Briarcliff.
Really nice ult usage from Maces there on the Gallia. We said he was playing Protector right, on these lanes. If anything kind of happens, if he sees a solo 1v1 happening or a dive coming in, he flies in there with the CC and turns it around. But now Udon and Tiger Star, Mace's used his mobility, has to probably burn Flash here.
Couple of beefcakes locking him in, and a little bit of teasing there. Looks like we're going back, and now look who's arrived. Autofill Pete, and he's level 6. But Sejuani gets out of range just in time. The flash was perfect in the re-engage. Do they have enough damage? I don't think so. Without the turret shot, there's no follow-up. Cylindric there, not in time, and nothing going down on the side of either end as they retreat to the jungles, respectively.
Yeah, Autofilled Pete picking up a lot of crucial red juice is what I'm going to call it here for his form. Also, just you saw kind of the damage that he was able to output here. Mace's 3.1k. If you look at Autofilled and Tiger Star, that is 400 gold, right? It's not a lot, but that's the difference in some of these cases, right? He's got a Caulfield Hammer, he's got a Longsword. Right now, Tiger Star just backed and picked up the double ruby health crystal here. So I think kind of saw what happened when he showed up. It was looking really dicey. It was looking scary. Like, wait a minute, this guy just almost chunked me down to 25% HP. If he ulted, he definitely wouldn't have gotten a kill, but he threatens lethal just with his mere presence, and that kind of dissuades any more aggression here. Mace is doing a really good job with his summoner spell usage and just living long enough for Pete to kind of come in here. And what we didn't really touch upon is the synergy with the Kayn Yuumi, right? Yeah. That is a menace to go against into the mid to late game.
Yeah, should have seen it from the beginning with that. I mean, Red Kayn plus Yuumi just offers so much. You've got CC to stick in the fight. You've got health to tank some of this upfront burst on the side of the Draven and the Lissandra, assuming the Gwen is still side laning. That's a Kayn that becomes unkillable with a lead and a Yuumi that gets out of laning phase. So yeah, good point there. Purdue Northwest does pick up the first dragon, and they head straight over to Herald, thinking that with top lane priority and the opportunity for bottom lane to get out whenever they want to, this is a chance to pick up at least vision as a bit of caster curse and minimap deceives me.
Yeah, we are going to kind of ideally head in Purdue Northwest for like a 24-minute, 25-minute Dragon Soul, which isn't the earliest possible, but it still is kind of forcing that issue, right? If they take these early dragons, if they keep trying to make BCU kind of fight them when they're not at full strength, and Purdue Northwest has this big burly Draven, they have this lockdown with immune to flame here in this mid lane, they can kind of force the issue. They can kind of increase and speed up the tempo of the game to where Briarcliff, whether they like it or not, they're going to have to fight for Soul Point. They're going to have to fight Purdue on this. But now, there are 3 men strong for this Herald. They're going to opt in for the fight, though.
Here comes the Galio. The knockup lands, and the Sejuani is the target. Great job considering the Herald is on the docket, excuse me. Just able to survive there thanks to the flash. Purdue Northwest is going to have to get out of there, and the Herald goes the way of Briarcliff.
They're just not respecting the Galio, right? Yeah. Like, simply put, they don't care that this guy has nearly a global ultimate that can kind of land in wherever they want. As Toponer, setting up something sneaky on Zalani, but she understands, she knows that she's completely fine here with both the AD carry and support missing. They're not going to fall for any shenanigans. And right now, BCU's bot lane just kind of weathering the storm while the rest of their team topside is just making plays across the map. Maces and Pete playing really well together. That is just a raw black cleaver picked up from Kayn here.
Yeah, mobility, thanks to the cooldown reduction there. Armor shred, that's going to chew through Sejuani whenever she does pick it up. And now we get a little aggression. Cylindric, the snip, and the flash is forced on the side of Og. Good opportunity there. There are no objectives, so this might just result in maybe a plate and some gold. But a steroid that is much needed for a Gwen that I feel like at this point, given the Herald, has to get ahead.
Yeah, they got the Herald gold. He's at a very solid jungle lead that I would say, honestly, Pete kind of generated for himself with that really early pathing and just kind of being on the right side of the map every single time. Obviously, Maces has had a lot of impact in these lanes, but I really have to give it up to Pete here in that early game. Controlled the flow. He forced Tiger Star to kind of do stuff that he didn't want to, because you kind of saw you're really confused as a jungler when Your camps that are supposed to be up at times that you thought they were up are gone, and now you're kind of left thinking, well, what do I do? Do I try to force a gank? This wasn't on the menu today as Mace is looking to aggress on Tiger. Now the dive comes in.
Tower dive. CC lands, and there's nowhere for you to go. The
Nice.
whirling death hits the target, and the cash-in is made. Subjective Flame is going to pick up the pinata of a champion that is Yuumi without a host. And on the other side, Cylindric getting a similar treatment. Survival, not an option. Just going to try to trim the wave as they look to donate the gold. Autofill Pete has to expend the ultimate to get the kill, but still good enough. Briarcliff decides to trade the objective, and now the tower is the focus for Purdue Northwest.
Overall, I think Purdue Northwest could have gotten made that a little bit more cleaner, right? I don't think Cylindric needed to be pushed up that far into the top lane, especially when 4 of your members are diving bot. You kind of have to expect that, hey, they might use it here, because now what was once an advantageous play, the Rift Herald getting dropped, another kill going over to the Kayn, right? Yeah, you got the cash in from the Draven. He's got his full Bloodthirster built here. But equally so, this Kayn is looking very, very scary. First tower turret gold should go over to Purdue Northwest here eventually. As, wait a minute, Onk actually has something to say about it. He's, no, I'm just going to keep bonking it with my hammer. And actually, Briarcliff end up picking first tower gold here. Yeah, it goes on to the Ornn, but right now, you're looking in a very good position here across the board. You've got Red Kayn evolved at 14.5 minutes. You've got the Yuumi ready to be attached. This Draven is pretty much your only lifeline right now on the side of Purdue Northwest. And if he gets jumped on by this devious duo, I'm pretty sure he's dead to rights.
Unsung hero there. Maces roaming into the river, not allowing for the bottom lane of PNW to get it. And no, the steal, Tiger Star! Who cares about my point? We've got plays on the map. Tiger Star, you get the dragon, you lose your life, but it's a worthy trade. Now the re-engage. Subjective Flame has to use the claw to get out. The ghost on the side of Autofill Pete is going to keep him in range. Call of the Forge God is not going to land thanks to the flash, and the follow-up is not needed. They decide the mid lane is where we're going next.
Tiger Star saying, you steal my camps, I'm going to steal your dragon here, Pete. Keeping that stacking going, keeping them and inching them closer and closer to the ever so powerful Chemtech Rift and Chemtech Soul here. That may end up biting BCU in the butt later on. We will see, right, if Purdue ends up actually nabbing this Dragon Soul. I think right now, Briarcliff in a pretty solid position, all things considered, right? They've gotten out of the early game, what, only 1,000 gold down? As long as they can keep it that way with their early game champions, we mentioned they're just going to outvalue you, right? They've got Jack Show on Ornn, they've got the Black Cleaver, plus what's going to be looking like a completed Mythic pretty soon on Pete here with the Red Kayn, Everfrost on Galio. Really, Zolani's the only one that's kind of lagging behind everybody else. But if they can handle this Draven, if they can take care of him, which is a tough task considering he has the IE available, Briarcliff can kind of just say, hey, we're going to hyper-index on this Draven. We're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at you, and then you've got nothing left.
Yeah, and that's exactly where this fight hinges. I watched opponent hit the base, and I was pretty sure, like, okay, this is a BF sword and pickaxe, right? Wrong. That was a 900 gold cash in on the Draven earlier, and it results in a complete IE, an entire item right now above the Zeri, who is buying right now and is able to pick up the Mythic. So the Mythic offering quite a few stats there, maybe 3/4 of an item here on the lead, but yeah, 50 CS, the kill, the cash in. I mean, Toponer is the focus, and if you don't lock him down, you're right, that fight is not going to be won.
It's looking really, really rough for both ends. They've got people to do it with, but Cylindric, man, what did he do to you, Pete? What did he do? Did he insult your mom? Did he not close the door? Did he not take his shoes off at the house? They are sending everything at this guy.
Belko just taking a ride as Maces and Pete offer just the sweetest wheels on the Rift. Hey, let me tell you about my best friend, and Belko here's got two.
Yeah, I mean, brought everybody in the gang after him. So Lendrick 0-3-0 on this Gwen. We mentioned that BCU's game plan would be trying to make sure Gwen stays down and out. I mean, they put her in the dirt. They put her 6 feet under as now the re-engage coming in.
This is an Orn starting it up. Goes down first, but PNW has a lot to fight off before this fight is won. Autofield Pete's going to use the Humble Trespass, but goes a bit too far. PNW turns around the fight. The Herald was dropped, and so were the bodies. PNW's going to take mid-turret and potentially more.
Boom, boom, boom! Toponer says that's the triple kill with the Draven. Cashes everything out, goes to the bank, makes the whole world economy collapse on the Rift right now. 34,000 gold. Purdue Northwest skyrocket their gold lead off of that one fight.
I mean, they're looking like the Silicon Valley banks here, Briarcliff, after that kind of team fight. The only one coming out on top, perhaps bailed out here, no Radonna Glask needed, was Autofield Pete, still able to maintain somewhat of a lead, but yeah, this is starting to look pretty dire. The re-engage on the side of PNW after the initial fight looked good with the Wombo combo from Orn and Galio, just not enough. Now it's about beating them with the wallets.
Yeah, I mean, they're just throwing gold coins at them, right? Copper pennies, quarters, whatever you've got. And now you look at it, it was what, 1,000 gold, 2,000 gold at most, maybe, between these two teams. Purdue Northwest just cashing it in. Right now, Draven is picking up the components for his Mythic here. There's a strong argument to just kind of go that Immortal Shield Bow plus Bloodthirster, right? And the Overheal, so you kind of become this kind of really unkillable shielding tanky Draven that also does a bunch of damage here. It could be really, really rough. Toponer, right now, he's in a position to carry. As long as he can stay safe, as long as he can position himself away from Autofield Pete and Belko, they can just kind of run this map and run this game here. Baron spawning in a second here. They can look to threaten that as well. And so Lendrick, although he's been bullied, although they've been taking his lunch money, his big brother Toponer is here to save the day.
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, you're exactly right. This is a PNW that's coming online, and I want to take a moment to step back as that tier 2 turret in the bottom lane goes down. Toponer with this Drain Tank Draven against a team that honestly does not have a ton of burst. That's how you would, you know, counter some of these champions that have an ability to stick in the fight with an opportunity to attack. If you lock him down with the CC, that's good enough. But like I said, if you don't, then this is a Draven that just will not receive enough upfront damage from a Galio, from a Red Cane, from a Zeri to warrant any sort of threat on his life. And yeah, 3k gold above the next closest champion in the entire game, Shibby. And Cylindric wants to prove that he's not the only player here. Here comes the aggression. The Orn is going to try to combat that with the Call of the Forge God. The Shroud timed perfectly. Now it's get out of dodge, excuse me, or go straight to, I mean, you know, to heck, I'll say. We'll keep it. Stays alive, though.
Keep it PG here. I like the gusto from Onk here to kind of try to even attempt that 1v1. Riftmaker on Cylindric here. Obviously, Gwen, a monster in that side lane. And you mentioned right now that there's nobody to kind of match Cylindric. Unfortunately, what BCU has had to do is that they've had to kind of send two people, right? They sent the Galio. I think they sent the Yumi and Kane as well. So technically 3 people here just to be able to deal with Gwen. And right now, because of that massive triple kill, I think it just feels like Briarcliff has unfortunately subdued themselves a little bit, right? They said, wait a minute, we just gave 3 kills over. We're not ahead in gold. They're not proactive anymore. They're not looking for plays. It's really, really rough. And maybe Briarcliff has kind of gotten into their own head a little bit right now because of just the gold lead and the item lead that Toponer has gotten for himself, right? Like you said, That's 3,000 gold solely on the AD carry alone here. He's picked up the shield boat. He's picked up the BT. Now has IE in hand. Like you said, he is so tanky for no reason other than just these shields that are going to come out. He's going to be a tough nut to crack. And I don't think Pete and Yumi Belko here can do it.
Yeah, I'm getting some flashbacks here. We've got Zolani on, the level 1 henchman item list versus the Toponer level 99 mob boss inventory. I mean, 3 items here versus 1.5, and we're about to see some of the results there. Umbral Trespass goes straight under the turret, and that's not where you want to be if you're Autofill Pete. Now the Glacial Prison comes in with Lysandra follow-up as well. The Gwen goes down first, however. Briarcliff loves the opportunity. Zeri's online, but the CC's locked in. Now the turn back is made. PNW starts to revolt against this Briarcliff aggression. Flash comes through, and they don't want any part of this. I love the timing here. PNW able to pick up 2 on the back end after the middle of that fight looked really rough, and the health bar advantage means that they've got wave control as well.
Yeah, I like the way that you said they turned it around here. The moment Zolani got caught by that hook from Udon, the rest of the team was ready to snap onto them. Zolani didn't use the flash, didn't use the ghost, no summoners. It was their fight to win. Briarcliff took down the Draven. They took down the Gwen here. They just had to play a little bit more safe. They had to navigate these fights a little bit better. And we could have seen BCU take the fight, but Purdue, like you said, revolting against whatever Briarcliff is throwing at them and making something out of nothing.
Yeah, it does result in a big bounty going over to the way of Briarcliff, with Draven taking their first death here. Toponer not accustomed to the gray screen here in this game, but maybe a recipe for success here heading forward on Briarcliff. They found something that worked well to begin with. It was just the re-engage and the tower dive that turned them away. So Zolani on the Zeri getting a little too close for comfort in going down to that Nautilus, and the snap reaction on Purdue Northwest is why they were able to turn it around. But yeah, the hope is there now. The gold lead has stabilized, and now it's objectives. We've got Soul on the docket here on the side of Purdue Northwest, and this is where it all comes down to. Okay, Glacial Prison comes in. Tiger Star is going to land that, but this is an unbalanced fight on this side. They aggress onto the lower numbers and come out on top. Tiger Star goes down first. Cylindric is next to follow. This is 5v3 now. Toponer, you got a lot of items, but you don't have a lot of teammates. The Dragon is going to go over to Briarcliff now as we are starting to see a turnaround.
Guys, this is League. This isn't Valorant. You can't just pincer the objective here. You've got to stay as a 5-man unit. You can't be flanking. You can't be taking these off angles right now. Purdue Northwest get caught with their pants down, and BCU, they turn it into a dragon, and they might just turn it into a Baron here.
Okay, Toponer has something to say about it, though. They're going to bide their time. Let the Baron debuff take its effect as the damage and the resistances go down, but Udon Beaton is a bit out of state. It is the re-engage on the side of Maces, and oh my god, no, it's a kill. Another one. Toponer goes down, excuse me. Subjective Flame hits the Zonias, but you are delaying the inevitable. Tiger Star is alive, but your damage is dead. The Gwen is disjointed. If they decide to re-engage, it's gonna have to be perfect. Zolani, life-stealing off the Baron right here. No ultimates on the side of Briarcliff, and there is the Glacial Prison as they wait for the Gwen ultimate to come back online as well. And now we get it. The re-engage is made just in time. It is a mass of bodies and health bars, but Briarcliffs stay true. 3-0 in a delayed ace on the side of Briarcliff, and they get the Baron as well. The comeback is real, Shibby.
In a matter of minutes, they effectively gave over 8 kills here, right? 2 in that bottom side with the Dragon. 3 more on the top side, then another 3 into that top over there, right? Into the Baron. They gave 8 kills over. 14-8 now, 47-46. Briarcliff with a bit of blundering from Purdue. They say, okay, we'll take this. Oh, you're just giving this for free? You're giving us these kills right now? We'll take that. Bargain sale on lives here for Purdue Northwest. They take the Baron as well. They're up 1,000 gold. Zolani has come online. You said only had one kill, only had one item. She's picked up the Navoris. She's picked up a little bit more gold, and now BCU have found their groove.
And look at this Zeri. Zolani able to go from just bargain bin now to 3 items as well. Just a half item behind this Raven, who's got 50 more CS, is sitting at 5, 2, and 5. The turnaround was insane. This isn't a champion difference here. Zeri does not magically at 25 minutes go from nothing to this. This is a player expression right here. And Zolani deserves a lot of credit for how they've been playing these fights after that initial death around the mid turret that we saw earlier.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Tapona, unfortunately, is just going to get jumped on here. The Kane?
This is 2v1 as the rest of the team shows up, and Maces solidifies it with the Goomba stomp of a Galio. Who needs to tower dive 1 turret when you can tower dive 3? Now they go through the first, the second heading down now. More deaths on the side of BMW. Another ace, and the only one to go down was Belko on the Yumi. This is inhibitor and potentially game.
Death timers are long. Udon's going to be up in 15, but unfortunately, everybody dead on the side of Purdue Northwest. They absolutely toss the gold lead that they got from the 25-minute mark. They funnel in. Briarcliff takes advantage. They take the Nexus. 1-0 win at the 30-minute mark. BCU take game 1.
Oh my gosh, Shippy. You know, it's easy to go into a series, you know, the first one went 2-1, the second one went 1-2, and say, man, this is going to be a close one. But there's always that feeling that, you know, can it deliver 3 series in a row? Yes, Shibby. Resounding yes, we absolutely can, and we got it. This is a PNW early game that we wanted to see, and then a Briarcliff comeback from what felt like just nowhere. And you can review it all you want, but the fingers were ready on the side of Briarcliff, and they came in firing post 20 minutes.
Purdue were winning up until they lost, like straight up. I think the fact that they got a little bit antsy, a little bit premature on the trigger, right? They wanted that Dragon Soul. They split up, right? They tried going for this flank with Solendric, with Tiger Star here. They end up dying. They give up the Dragon. The Baron gets started. Now they have to contest his 3. Okay, let's contest his 3. Let's make sure that we can kind of filter ourselves around, maybe kind of bide some time here. No, they go in his 3. They funnel another couple kills, and then 2 more come in. They funnel another couple kills. Zolani picking up 4 off of that. She went from Immortal Shield Bow to then off the back, Navori plus Runins. The item lead that Taponer got for himself, kaput, done. It's over, right? And Briarcliff, with this late game composition, just said, you know what? We're going to turn it up to 11 here. They take the fight to Purdue. They tower dive, and Purdue just, like I said, they just tossed it. They were so far ahead. You saw the gold graph. It was blue, 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 red. And it was done.
Yeah, the Stimmy package coming in for Briarcliff absolutely paying dividends. And now, I mean, we're set up for just an insane game 2 and 3. But before we toss it to a break, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, DG. They're leading nationwide commercial and residential smart system integrator. Spanning from coast to coast, AVDG is able to meticulously design and engineer systems, provide expert technology design services, professional installation, and world-class service across the U.S. through distinctive designs. AVDG pioneers technology to empower end users to operate systems effortlessly improve connectivity and position their investment for maximum long-term success. AVDG maintains their and secures the success of their technologies through the extensive simplicity service division that works continuously to monitor, adjust, and prevent system errors. Thank you again to AVDG for your sponsorship. We're going to head to a break real quick before we head into game 2, and we'll be right back here. I don't even want to say don't touch your browsers. I already know you don't. See you soon.
Hi, we're Audiovisual Design Group, where you can call us AVDG for short. Over the last decade, we've grown to become one of the largest technology integrators in the United States. Our journey began in 1996 when the Macarena was the #1 song in America, and a guy named Robert Sharfer founded AVDG in Silicon Valley. From the beginning, everything we did was rooted in the philosophy that technology integration should be exceptional by design. Exceptional tech, exceptional people, exceptional spaces. To achieve this, we became laser focused on process. Employees were thoroughly trained, projects followed a consistent workflow, and customers received outstanding service and guidance, no matter the size or scope of the project. Before long, AVDG was working with top companies in tech industries, both in the Bay Area and overseas, including Oracle, Wells Fargo, and Google. AVDG wasn't just a commercial integrator. We also worked in high-end residential environments. Across California, we partnered with homeowners, renowned architects and developers, including Shroon Pacific, Michael Lee, and Robert Hidley. We built lasting relationships through our support division, providing solutions for technology updates, upgrades, and everything in between, while continuing to grow. Through acquisition, AVDG expanded across the country. We acquired TVTI in Chicago, which had built a reputation for its partnerships with architectural firms, builders, and MDUs. This was a perfect fit for AVDG because TVTI was already known for its innovative solutions, which created value for developers and end clients too. TVTI's award-winning approach led them to produce integrations that have touched most of the Chicago skyline. Their work can be found in the city's most prominent towers, upscale condominiums, and residential buildings, as well as other developments across the United States. Next, AVDG acquired Maverick Integration on the East Coast, which was another perfect fit. Maverick had done incredible AV projects throughout 2 million square feet of some of the finest homes in New England, New York, and the Caribbean. Maverick was one of the first integrators to take an engineering and design approach for residential projects, which allowed them to create innovative solutions based on each client's space and needs. Their specialty was finding smart ways to integrate technology in the construction of these exquisite homes so that usable living space was not compromised, while enhancing architectural features through lighting design and other custom solutions. In the process, Maverick worked with many award-winning firms to refine what they could deliver to a client and what the homeowner's experience would be. These acquisitions have been an important part of AVDG's success story. Today, AVDG is now ranked among the biggest and most successful integrators in the country, with 7 locations across the US. So, what sets AVDG apart? While every technology project is unique, we use a proven process that ensures success every time. We refer to this process as FLOW, or Frictionless Operating Workflow. FLOW enables our team to work smarter and faster. Each project is defined by roles and milestones that allow team members to work in the individual swim lanes while also contributing to the big picture. Every aspect of a project has a defined process, from the initial sale to the final client handoff. We keep in close contact with our project stakeholders, including general contractors, designers, and electricians, to ensure we stay on track. All this is done digitally across multiple projects simultaneously, that we can quickly redirect teams, adjust scheduling, and define new milestones as needed. Our process extends beyond the project completion. Clients receive ongoing support and remote system monitoring, ensuring fewer headaches and maximum system uptime. For AVDG, it means an increased customer lifecycle and the opportunity for additional projects in the future. Our process is the secret to our success and is what allows us to grow, expand to new markets, and merge with new teams, and while maintaining the consistent quality service we're known for. As we at AVDG continue to grow and innovate our industry, our process will continue to play a vital role in the story of our success. Hi, we're Audio Visual Design Group, where you can call us AVDG for short. Over the last decade, we've grown to become one of the largest technology integrators in the United States. Our journey began in 1996 when the Macarena was the #1 song in America, and a guy named Robert Sharfer founded AVDG in Silicon Valley. From the beginning, everything we did was rooted in the philosophy that technology integration should be exceptional by design. Exceptional tech, exceptional people, exceptional spaces. To achieve this, we became laser focused on process. Employees were thoroughly trained, projects followed a consistent workflow, and customers received outstanding service and guidance, no matter the size or scope of the project. Before long, AVDG was working with top companies in tech industries, both in the Bay Area and overseas, including Oracle, Wells Fargo, and Google. AVDG wasn't just a commercial integrator. We also worked in high-end residential environments. Across California, we partnered with homeowners, renowned architects and developers, including Troon Pacific, Michael Lee, and Robert Hidley. We built lasting relationships through our support division, providing solutions for technology updates, upgrades, and everything in between, while continuing to grow. Through acquisition, AVDG expanded across the country. We acquired TVTI in Chicago, which had built a reputation for its partnerships with architectural firms, builders, and MDUs. This was a perfect fit for AVDG because TVTI was already known for its innovative solutions, which created value for developers and end clients too. TVTI's award-winning approach led them to produce integrations that have touched most of the Chicago skyline. Their work can be found in the city's most prominent towers, upscale condominiums, and residential buildings, as well as other developments across the United States. Next, AVDG acquired Maverick Integration on the East Coast, which was another perfect fit. Maverick had done incredible AV projects throughout 2 million square feet of some of the finest homes in New England, New York, and the Caribbean. Maverick was one of the first integrators to take an engineering and design approach for residential projects, which allowed them to create innovative solutions based on each client's space and needs. Their specialty was finding smart ways to integrate technology in the construction of these exquisite homes so that usable living space was not compromised, while enhancing architectural features through lighting design and other custom solutions. In the process, Maverick worked with many award-winning firms to refine what they could deliver to a client and what the homeowner's experience would be. These acquisitions have been an important part of AVDG's success story. Today, AVDG is now ranked among the biggest and most successful integrators in the country, with 7 locations across the US. So, what sets AVDG apart? While every technology project is unique, we use a proven process that ensures success every time. We refer to this process as FLOW, or frictionless operating workflow. Flow enables our team to work smarter and faster. Each project is defined by roles and milestones that allow team members to work in the individual swim lanes while also contributing to the big picture. Every aspect of a project has a defined process, from the initial sale to the final client handoff. We keep in close contact with our project stakeholders, including general contractors, designers, and electricians, to ensure we stay on track. All this is done digitally across multiple projects simultaneously, that we can quickly redirect teams, adjust scheduling, and define new milestones as needed. Our process extends beyond the project completion. Clients receive ongoing support and remote system monitoring, ensuring fewer headaches and maximum system uptime. For AVDG, it means an increased customer lifecycle and the opportunity for additional projects in the future. Our process is the secret to our success and is what allows us to grow, expand to new markets, and merge with new teams, and while maintaining the consistent quality service we're known for. As we at AVDG continue to grow and innovate our industry, our process will continue to play a vital role in the story of our success.
All right, we're back, and I forgot to mention before, I do want to wish you a happy St. Patrick's Day. Shibi, I can't pinch you from afar, but I intentionally didn't warn you. And yeah, I see. Yeah, well, that's true. You can. Not that I want you to, please. I said heck on broadcast. We're definitely not stepping over this line.
I might be like Travesty. I don't cast with underwear on. You don't even know what's underneath here. I could have a whole factory right now underneath.
Oh yeah.
But
my wardrobe definitely improved post quarantine. So Uh, you're exactly right. I mean, it's just all freedom down there as far as anybody is concerned. And speaking of green, it was Briarcliff that was able to cash in some of that green on the Rift with the gold lead. They were able to sustain post 20. But if you're Purdue Northwest, if you're a fan, I don't think you're the most discouraged given how strong their early game looked. It just looked like literally 2 bad decisions and bad fights come Dragon and Baron Pit that decided the game. So overall, there are plenty of areas for optimism. It's just a matter of, putting together all the pieces and maintaining that mental after a loss that can feel pretty crushing like that.
I wouldn't put it past Purdue to just run that back, right? Just say, hey, you
know
what?
Yeah.
Take the Yumi again. We won lane.
Yeah.
We didn't just win lane. We stomped you guys, right?
Yeah.
We were winning. And sometimes it is just one of those unfortunate moments where just 1-2 decisions at the later stages of the game could just turn everything around. That's not a normal occurrence in League of Legends generally for these teams, right? You don't just make 1 to 2 mistakes or 1 mistake that turns it around. Generally, when the team is in the lead, at least what we've seen in MEC, they win, right? Barring some kind of miracle. Usually it's the other team kind of making some miracle outplays rather than the other team kind of feeding and inting into them. So I wouldn't be surprised if Purdue Northwest just salty run that back. We may see some changes in the jungle and the top lane. I think Solendric did kind of get the short end of the stick there, unfortunately. Got bullied out. I think he ended up like an 0-7, 0-6 right now. Couldn't really fulfill that split push fantasy threat that he wanted to. He had to group with his team. The needleworks were just irrelevant, I'm going to say, in those matches. And I think there was a lot of Merc Treads value coming out from BCU that we didn't mention, right? They had the Sejuani. They had the double AP. There was just so much to work with. Merc Treads providing an insane amount of value for BCU. So I think Purdue Northwest draft something a little bit more balanced, run back that same bot lane. I like the answer you had into Yumi, and just, play a little bit cleaner and you can come up with the win.
Yeah, and I want to highlight an unsung hero there, BCU's Maces. They're on the Galio, facilitating that early game topside on that kind of pick that is supposed to do exactly that. It stabilized for the Ornn and honestly bought potentially 10 to 15 more minutes out of that champion to still match the Gwen in a reasonable state. And that's all they needed, because it was autofill Pete just running through the mid game on that Kayn. And if your lanes aren't on fire and you're on a Kayn with a Yumi backpack, yeah, you're going to do exactly that. So really good focus there, really good decision making on the side of BCU to stabilize where they could. Yes, that Draven had an insane cash out, but they stayed calm. They played to what they needed to. And despite the fact that Purdue Northwest was literally 1 dragon away from Seoul, they kept calm, they trusted the game plan, and they hit exactly what they needed to. As far as pick ban here, exactly the same bans on the side of the Pride here for Purdue Northwest, but a little bit of a change up here with the Rakan on BCU. Or was that?
Yeah, BCU did take the the Rakan away. Right, okay. Belko not wanting to play that. I think they're just kind of banning that away from Udon because it's destructive champion here. And BCU, they said, you know what? If you'll give it to us again, we're gonna take it. The Yumi B1 coming out. Hyper, just flash the graphic. I know you want to.
we gotta flex the editing muscles here, and once again, like you said, the bottom lane run back, no problem. I don't know if you necessarily lock in both Nautilus and Draven here. You can secure maybe a high priority, but if you know for a fact that BCU only runs the Yumi with this Zeri, then maybe you're comfortable doing so. I do want to see okay, and it looks like they might agree with the Sejuani hover, but I want to see a little more flexibility on the side of either containing this Kayn in the early game or not allowing BCU to even pick it to begin with. Yeah, the champion might not be strong, but I mean, Autofill Pete looked incredibly smart and decisive on the champ.
And I want to kind of highlight that pathing that we may see something later on. I think if he could do something like that again, I think he had Tiger Star looking this way, that way, right?
Yeah.
He was just like, where are my camps? What do I do? Like,
Check him PC. He knew
lost.
exactly where Tiger Star was at all times. Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild, and it's just unfortunate for Tiger Star. He couldn't get a gank down bot. He was hovering mid, couldn't do anything. He didn't really do much in that early game. And as Sejuani, you don't want to opt into a farming war against Kane, right? And yeah, look, they're just gonna run it back. Like BCU and PNW are just like, look, we both played really good games. BCU said, you know what, we kind of bunked the early game a little bit. We messed up here and there, but Pete, Path, very, very smart. Mace's had a very, very good early game. BCU's like, look, the only reason it got to that really wacky state was because Draven picked up a triple kill in the mid lane, and we just botched an engage. Purdue Northwest as well, we botched one fight here, and that we just trickled in. So both of these guys locking the Camille in early against the Ornn. I like that. BCU banned that out in the second rotation. So taking that into the Ornn, a bit more priority, allows for you to take the combative summoners. You have a hook shot instead of the hollowed mist. You've got hard engage. You're going to lock down whatever BCU is willing to throw at you. They are daring Briarcliff to lock the Zeri in here.
Yeah, much better follow-up on the side of Camille versus the Gwen. It's a little more quick, a little more snap trigger on the side of the Camille if you are looking to team fight, and has a much better opportunity post-Mythic to just roll this Ornn. The Gwen has to hope the Ornn mispositions in the lane to punish, or have a long lane to begin with. The Camille, no. You are mispositioned if you are on the screen. So this is a much better opportunity picking it. And a little bit of fold here for BCU. They pick the Ornn ahead of time. They don't opt to do it right before ban phase 2. They wouldn't have had the opportunity on the blue side, and they don't hold it for the second rotation. And that might mean that they're trying to either hide their AD carry pick, or the Ornn actually means that much to the composition in the draft that the lane just doesn't matter. So Draven coming in here, I'm trying to think of other AD carries that we could see come out of the bot lane that would punish something like a Yuumi, but I mean, historically in the LCS and the NACL, like that's been the answer. So we might see something new here.
Could go Trist, another early game aggressive ADC. Twitch being taken away from BCU, so not even allowing the kind of matching of scaling here. Purdue Northwest have caught themselves in a tricky position here. Do they take the Zeri away from Zolani and just match it up with something like Zeri Nautilus? Not the most ideal bot lane composition, but workable. Also a really nice kind of takeaway. The thing is that even if you take the Zeri away, Yuumi matches up so well with some of these AD series. So they're going to go scaling for scaling here. Aphelios locked in for Toponer here. Another immobile ADC doesn't have as much kind of counterpunch that the Draven would have. I fear that if Pete can get another lead with this Kane pick here, he could just kind of run over the game once again. And Aphelios is not going to have as many options, right? Draven generally opts in for the Bloodthirster Rush, for the Mosubo. Aphelios as well, that's what he kind of goes. He kind of forgoes Mythic a little bit, but he doesn't have that kind of... I don't think that's a Twisted Fate, but... and he locks it in?
Okay. Huh.
Throw everything I'm saying out the window. Reed, that's a TF.
Yeah. Okay, so like TF Camille. Whoa. Okay, Maces and Immune to Flame just kind of going crazy here. I wish we could have seen the time between lock-ins, because it would have told us a lot. Like if the Fizz comes in immediately after the TF, it would have been, yeah, okay, this has been cooked up. This is something that's, like you said, been in the lab. Maybe this is what we were looking for on the side of BCU as far as the Twisted Fate, and it might have been sniffed out by PNW, but I mean, Camille TF is a pretty popular combo. There's no way you're picking away a TF on the side of BCU, and this is just an opportunity to, I guess, flex something new that we haven't seen all season.
Reed, I'm gonna brush you up real quick.
Okay, all right.
On the man that is formerly known as Immune to Flame, currently known as Subject to Flame. This guy's got a 71% win rate on the Fizz in solo queue. 52 games played.
Okay.
I can guarantee you this man he's salivating at Maces right now. He's saying, oh, you want to play TF into me? You want to give me red counter pick? All right, I'm going to slam this champion. Live or die today. Subject to Flame's going to lock that Fizz in. This is a advantageous matchup, a counter matchup into Maces. This guy's going to have a rough time in lane here. This is what he's doing. Subject to Flame is going to slurp him up right now.
You know what? It's feast or famine here. We've either got the top ramen like Shibby there in real life, or we're talking about the filet mignon. And the filet mignon here on the menu is Zolani on the Zeri. If they can lock her down and just follow up with a Camille and follow up with a Fizz. I was a little worried about the composition identity whenever they locked in the Aphelios, because if you've got something like a Sejuani Nautilus, you're not like, ooh, you know what's great here? Aphelios with the flash follow-up. But instead, it's just a kind of a, I don't know, insurance package. Come late game, if there is a front-to-back sort of team fight, you've got something that can fight alongside that. But we load into the Rift, game 2 of our inaugural series here for the MEC playoffs in 2023. I mean, the draft is delivering. Game 1 sure as hell delivered. Let's see if we got game 2 as well.
Draft was going according to plan until it didn't, right? We saw the Kane. All right, they're just going to run it back. Zeri being taken as well. Aphelios. All right, that's a fair match. You go scaling for scaling. Aphelios, depending on the gun combination, like you said, can potentially follow up. Has the long range Moonlight Vigil, right? If he's got the flame gun out, the Infernum, he's going to do a lot of damage. Obviously, Calibrum is very good at following up for this long range engage. And Aphelios, generally, depending on the item build he goes in itemization, which is like Bloodthirster, into potentially like the Immortal Shield Bow, he can get a lot of just kind of self-sustain going, and with his Severum here. So I think it was going well, and then Maces was like, yeah, I'm just going to play TF here. I don't know if throwing the gauntlet down, challenging Subject to Flame, say, I know you play Fizz. We've done our research. I don't care, man. I play solo Q2. I play this champion, Twisted Fate, a lot. But now, Subject to Flame, this is his game, right? You lock in this counter pick, you lock in this play. As the invade comes out from Purdue Northwest, adapting from game 1 to Tiger Star, this guy, he took my buffs last time. Let's just do a little bit of our own buff taking.
Yeah, this is a bit of, your medicine. We're just dealing it right back to you. Autofill Pete, such an intelligent path in the first game. He has an opportunity to sniff it out as well. The bottom lane of Purdue Northwest showing through the river, so they might be able to tell. It's just a matter of what he deems efficient and where the focus is on the side of these junglers as far as lane priority. So early pathing, going to be something that we're going to talk about. As far as the laning is concerned, you already talked about the Fizz counter matchup. And on the side of Maces for the TF, it does feel similar to the Galio. You are facilitating the side lanes. And an Ornn with a lead, although not as bad as some of the other just Giga tanks, not quite what you're looking for. Instead, it's going to be this Zeri that can punish some of the mispositionings of an immobile bottom lane like the Aphelios Nautilus. So I think bottom lane is going to be the focus. And yeah, we get Autofill Pete heading straight into the red side once again.
Oh, they know. They spotted him out. They warded for it this time. Pete might be caught in a rock and a hard place. Has the ghost available.
Yeah, gonna get the escort on the side of Ankh, but you are on the wrong side of this bouncer. Subject to Flame picks up first blood as Autofill Pete tries to strike twice, but is not so lucky this time.
And a kill gifted over to the person you don't want to see it on. Mace is going, buddy, what are you doing? You gave him a kill. You gave him blue buff. And now, with this newfound power, with this newfound identity, Subject to Flame is putting the pain onto Maces right now. And I think one thing to note, is that Mace's opted in for Flash Ghost as his primary summoner spells. He's not going to have the TP up that you regularly see most TF players taking. Instead, he's going to try to unlock it with the summoner spellbook. Obviously, not as crucial for him because he has that ultimate. But what we've seen a lot of TF players do is that they'll TP mid or they'll use their ultimate mid, and when they win the fight, they'll TP to a side lane to quickly pressure that. As now, Ankh regretting that early Ornn pick. So Lendrick saying, okay, Camille's not banned out this time. I'm going to show you what true pain is.
Yeah, Ankh will have an opportunity come level 6. There is some kill threat for sure on the Camille. A lot of top laners will get baited into the I'm Camille, you're Ornn, I'm better at all lane phase or at all phases of the lane, and you know, get a little ambitious. But outside of that, yeah, this is going to be a rough one to weather through if Cylindric is able to impose his will on the laning phase post Mythic. For the side of this Fizz, it's still ranged versus melee early. You know, this is still a Fizz that is going to struggle to CS in the early stages until that, you know, first or second back. But yeah, the early kill with blue buff, I mean, you can ask for a better start for Subjective Flame. And if we were ever questioning the mental capacity on Purdue Northwest before this, doubters be silenced, because the start was perfect, and this is Purdue Northwest now that feels the win in their hands.
I mean, they didn't change up, right? They said, you know what, we're gonna take the fight to you. You're gonna take all these picks. We're gonna adapt. We're gonna pick our meal. We're gonna pick stuff that's strong that we know we're good at, and taking it in this game too. I think they come out with a really good mentality, right? They don't fold. They don't buckle. They say we're gonna keep sticking to our game plan. We know what you want. We're going to run it back and we'll win this time. As now Mace is a very smart early Merc Treads purchase from him to negate obviously some of the CC that comes out from Tiger Star, but also some of that magic damage coming out from both Subjective Flame and Tiger Star here. Understanding that this 2v2, Maces and Pete never win that. It is going to be Tiger Star and Subjective Flame just consistently trying to gank mid, consistently trying to win the 2v2 here. And so picking that up provides him that little bit extra safety here. The Ghost was burned from Maces, I think early on in that lane, has the flash available. Both champions level 6 here want to do very different things.
So I didn't get to point this out last time because it was fairly minor, but now that I've seen it again, Maces actually regularly will pop Ghost just to get to lane, but it's Autofill Pete looking for the steal. Tiger Star able to do it last time, and Pete pays him back and gets a kill for it. Maces is low, but is able to space perfectly. Pete's going to go down second, and the turnaround is real. Toponer is starting to pop off. Flash forward. The Gravitum is going to lock him down, but the spacing is a bit too far for the follow-up to ensue. 1 to 3 on the kill board here as Toponer cashes in again on an 80 carry.
Flame.
This is potential, but the playful Trickster would dodge the gold card. The damage following up, however, would not, and decides otherwise, waiting. Looking at potentially wave clear, and yeah, no, it looks like Subjective Flame not able to hang around, knowing Autofill Pete should be back in the jungle at this time.
Yeah, he's going to come back. The dive was almost there. Luckily, Maces was able to clear the wave fast enough. Really good red card usage plus the wild cards here. But now, because there's so many committed to the bot lane, Ankh is going to have to burn potentially every summoner spell.
Trade of ultimates, but it's too little, too late. The true damage. Oh my gosh, the turnaround! What real Ankh almost bonks Cylindric into the Shadow Realm, but I mean 2v1, the turnaround potential, but I mean, this is Cavil now, a significant lead once they get this back off, and Purdue Northwest with a dream start to this game.
Yeah, 4-1, a kill onto the Fizz, a kill onto the Aphelios. These guys are firing once again on all cylinders in the early game. The early game wasn't the issue, Reed. It was when we got to that kind of late game fight where they kind of started fiending for the objective. They were on Soul Point. They just had to wait it out. They didn't have to get caught out, but unfortunately, they just kept trickling in and dying, and that's where Briarcliff kind of took advantage. They struck while the iron was hot, and Zolani picked up some kills here. Looking to mitigate some of that in this early game, Purdue Northwest just playing some pretty good League of Legends so far.
Yeah, and fans at home, if you're a part of the pride, you're like, okay, another good one. Just don't throw it again. Don't throw it again. I will lend you some hope. You are much better set up this game than last game. You've got plenty of more lanes to play through than just the one, which was the Draven, and with more of a balanced attack, the lockdown ability of like a TF and an Ornn no longer is as potent whenever you just have one target and instead you have an entire team. So as the gold graph comes up, a bit skewed here, I will admit, on the side of that Twisted Fate thanks to the gold passive, but much more even game as far as gold than we saw thanks to the Draven offset. It's just the power potential early, and we're going to see some of that here. The Merc Treads bot, and they are not going to matter. The re-dive does follow through. Gold card almost giving Maces an opportunity, but the kill for this Fizz is online.
Oh, 100%. And I love kind of the staggering from TigerStar, right? Getting the passive off with the E, then following up with the Glacial Augment to layer that CC on to give Immune to Flame enough time to put the damage in on the Maces. Didn't burn the Ignite, didn't burn the Flash. Can set himself up for a re-kill, right? Maces has no summoners. TigerStar and Subject to Flame or Immune to Flame have everything up, and the Fizz are cooldown. As we're talking about it, Reed, that thing is almost back up.
Yeah, early cooldown boots and a lost chapter here on the side of this Fizz for Subject to Flame means that, yeah, the Playful Trickster comes off quick. The ultimate, Chum the Waters, comes off quick. So this is a Fizz that can regank very quickly as Autofill Pete looks in, but sniffed out on the side of Udon Beaton, saving the anchor toss for that escape, and another thwarted gank attempt. The Kayn that was so potent in game one, now looking like a shadow of himself in game two. No blue Kayn needed, though.
No, not yet. I think this is still... I mean, you could argue for blue Kayn here, right? Affilio super immobile, not going to have that counterpunch. You can potentially onto Fizz here, as now Solen drops the Hextech ultimatum.
The Twisted Fate ultimate, though, gonna be able to counter that. Gold card comes through. Onk Bonk secures it for the top laner of Briarcliff, as the Camille opting for the 1v1, but you've got a friend in this TF for Maces.
Nice ultimate usage from Maces here, as now the 2v2 comes in. I don't know if they win this, though.
Subject to Flame was the focus as the Glacial Prison misses. Autofill Pete is going to be able to slip away. Bit of a mis-execution, maybe on a surprised gank opportunity, because TigerStar was looking to get Dragon control. Some traded ultimates, but overall, this is Purdue Northwest with control, with the Rift Herald dropping it mid, looking to secure Dragon with it.
Yeah, and I said they don't win the 2v2. If you miss every ability known to man, then yeah, you can win the 2v2 on the side of PCU here. Like you said, though, the Dragon, because of that aggression, because of Autofill Pete getting chunked out here, Infernal Dragon ends up the way of Purdue Northwest, and we've got some absolute shenanigans today. Hex Tech Rift on the menu. These guys are going to be able to get in and out of these fights at a moment's notice, and especially with Kayn, who can kind of make some of these slippery escapes, right? Goes through the wall, take the TP, bounce back and forth, can absolutely put Purdue Northwest on ice here. I'm gonna wait to see how this kind of evolves as the game goes forward, but right now Purdue Northwest, once again, in a slight gold lead heading into this mid-game point out of laning phase. It's now how do they kind of navigate this? You don't just hope for Topono to get another triple kill. You kind of have to push the issue, because eventually Zolani will scale.
Yeah, consider the issue pushed here. Chum the Waters misses in there, but they are able to lock down this TF enough for the damage to come through. The re-engage, however, Pete is going to ward off the potential dive. Maces survives another one and still had the stopwatch, so even safer than previously presumed. I love your point about the Hextech Herald, or sorry, Hextech Dragon on the Rift here for this game, because not only do you have a Kayn, you also have a Fizz in the game. Two very of the most slippery champions in the game. The gold grab back up here. And I don't know that I've ever seen a closer one as far as the top half is concerned. 4.9, 4.8 for everybody. Top 6 now of those champions.
Yeah, and Toponer gonna be looking to get some
gonna be
for
okay
himself here. Autofilled Pete still hasn't gotten his transformation in. I think he's gonna go for blue here. I can't tell. I wish we could see kind of a what he's packing right now in the juice bar. But
looking at the champions for 5 or 4 melee versus the 1 ranged in the Aphelios, it feels like if he does go blue, it would have to be a super delayed transformation, given that I don't think he's even touched the Aphelios at this point.
I don't think he's ganked him at once. I think he's, like you said, has picked up that red juice, the 4 melee, like you mentioned. But the fact that this transformation is so late is what's kind of concerning, right? I think he got it last time around like the 10 to 11 minute mark. Yeah. And so he could just be waiting for blue form, right? Even though he has the juice ready for red. As Maces, like you said, I kind of want to point out, after that first gank, Tiger Star and Flame have just been desynced, right? You don't throw your Fizz ultimate out while he's not CC'd. If you layer the Glacial Augment and then the Fizz ultimate, you pretty much guarantee the damage there. But they're getting a little antsy, and once again, they're getting a little bit premature on some of these kills and some of this gold here, and honestly just missing out on opportunities. These are those micro mistakes that eventually will lead to where Purdue Northwest, they can't push the envelope. They can't push the lead. And Briarcliff takes advantage of that so well with the ultimates, with their mobility. They can be 4-man bot in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, the saving grace here, however, is Purdue Northwest able to pick up the Rift Herald thanks to Tiger Star soloing that just a minute ago. This is a Pride team that has... They should have had, the first 2 dragons, but I'm going to have to stop here. Maces is going to teleport in, and the engage is there, but for the Yuumi, the damage isn't. Maces having to gold card to disengage after opting for the fight, as we've got 2 fronts here. Autofill P and Ankh clearing the wave, looking for the tower and tower diving first, thinking they're not going to be able to get it. We've got Whiplash, though. I am back and forth, back to the bottom lane. The stopwatch of the aforementioned coming through here. Exhaust is going to delay the damage, and the turnaround is there.
Wait,
Zolani is going to pick up 2, almost 3, and now we've got a duel of Sejuani and Yuumi in the bottom lane, but I'm going to flip back to the top. Tower goes down. So does the top laner. Ankh as well. 4 dead on the side of Briarcliff as Purdue Northwest takes everything for them on both sides of the map.
A double kill, I believe, for Subject to Flame on that top lane dive. You see the bodies of Kane and Ornn littered in that top side, as well as 2 more down in that bot lane. Belko, the only man left alive after the dual lane skirmish here. Purdue Northwest looked a little dicey, but got the job done. 9-4, now have just a 1,000 gold lead after all that investment. Dragon is coming up. Reed, you just got a slight break, but they're going to come in bumping uglies once again.
Oh, and we are ready, and so is Autofill Pete. The backpack securely fastened, and Ankh straight into the wall, knocking up 2 on the side of Purdue Northwest. They've got to get the hell out of this fight. Cylindric goes down first, thanks to the cards from Maces. What isn't in the cards here for Purdue Northwest is this dragon. Briarcliff's gonna take a dragon lead despite the abysmal initial fight. And Udon's going to throw a depth charge out there, keeping Maces from the mid lane. You take whatever win you can get. Here it was a couple minions on the mid side, but I mean, this is just mayhem in these first 2 games for this inaugural series of the playoffs here for the MEC.
Mace is telling Purdue Northwest, you're a 3rd-rate team with a 4th-rate champion right now. on the side of Mason, just looking amazing on this TF so far. The ports in, the gold cards, setting up his team for success here. He's going to opt in for the Zhonya's second item. Generally, we see Everfrost into rapid fire cannon, so he's going to want a little bit more oomph on his AP, a bit more survivability. Says, you know what, we can forego the rapid fire cannon until the third item and really set this team up for success. Autofilled Pete finally getting his transformation in. You were right, Reed. He is going for the red cane. It was just a bit delayed. Didn't have that explosive early game that he did last time around. But now, Yuumi in the back pocket. Pete as well with this red form. Briarcliff once again, after kind of falling behind for the first 15 to 20 minutes, they're just kind of slowly but surely crawling their way back in.
Yeah, this is, I mean, just impossible to predict. But, I mean, we've got Ankh on the team. You've already made a couple references here and there, but if you had a Millennium Eye at this point in the game, I need you to look forward and show me how either of these teams secures, you know, the rest of these objectives here. As far as team fights, it just feels like everyone is fresh and new with these engages, disengages, tower dives. I mean, I don't know what's coming.
Well, I'm going to be real with you, Reed. It looks like Briarcliff, you know, they've got the Millennium Ring in hand. They're trying to send Purdue to the Shadow Realm that is the loser's bracket as TF is pulling out the Exodia.
All right, we step into the arena. Pete's going to follow up onto Udon Bidon, and you be gone. Straight to the Shadow Realm, as you mentioned. The bottom lane for Purdue Northwest goes down, and Baron up for grabs. It seems to be the Millennium key of the game for games 1 and 2. Briarcliff knowing exactly where their cards lie.
Yeah, they're going to go in here. Tiger Star was the hero of game 1, stole that early dragon, and now Purdue Northwest, they're playing this Baron much better despite the numbers advantage. They're not hard committing. They're waiting. They're forcing them to make the decision as now Tiger Star is threatening the steal, and Briarcliff University, they just can't do it. They won't commit. They are absolutely paralyzed in fear from this three-man squad of Purdue. They back off. They take the fight win, but nothing more, Reed.
Yeah, the health bar's a bit too low for their liking. They weren't ready to coin flip something like that. Yeah, the Chum the Waters was expended, but they still had Glacial Prison. They still had the Hextech Ultimatum on the Camille with a flanking angle, and they just couldn't fight on both fronts. Ornn is a front-to-back, keep you in front of him type of fighter, and whenever you've got that flank, it's not what you're looking for. So they smartly bide their time. They feel like they've got the late game with that Zeri, with that Yuumi, and the the Kayn pair that honestly they're so comfortable that they say, you know, forget the Baron, we've got the game.
Yeah, I think Briarcliff biding their time here. I think safely saying, you know what, we don't need to throw around Baron. Zolani's at 2 items. She's in a much better position than she was in game 1 at around this mark here, right? She was down nearly two items to 3, essentially, right? She only had that Immortal Shield Bow to what was Toponer's, what, BTIE and Immortal Shield Bow. So I think Briarcliff have safely gotten out of this early game. And Selendrick, though, just absolutely destroying Ankh in the side lane.
The Divine Sunder coming in. Has to expend the Flash and the Call of the Forge Guard to get out. That is exactly where this Camille wants to be. If you've got a Divine Sunderer, consider Ornn of the Divine. But the engage coming through, Briarcliff feeling this one is a good one to take. Teleports come through as well, and now we've got an even fight. An uneven fight. It's 4v5 here on the side of Briarcliff. The turret being the only equalizer, and the damage is true. Udon Bidon does re-engage, but the damage isn't there on the side of Purdue Northwest. Camille unable to comfortably join, given a half-health. TP is not what they're looking for, and it's Briarcliff taking advantage, taking control of this river now, as Camille does TP in after the recall. We could see a re-engage.
Ankh might be the sacrificial lamb here. Hextech
No
is on
ultimate,
cooldown.
Yeah, no Hextech. You're exactly right. The lockdown, not quite there. But if we look on the other side, 0 ultimates on either one, except for the Chum the Waters on the side of Fizz. Health bars favoring Purdue Northwest. They should be able to lock in their second dragon as Hog is going to catch that fish. The dragon coming down shortly after. Control going the way of Purdue Northwest. Another equalized game as we are going to sit even here at 24 minutes while Purdue Northwest shakes some of the monkeys off their back from game 1 and secures a mid-game objective.
2 for 2. Dragon apiece. Gold nearly even. Kills nearly even. Towers in the favor of Purdue Northwest, but right now, this is as close as it can get here, Reed. Briarcliff smartly not throwing it for that dragon, right? They were all low. Camille had the TP and they forced it out. Camille only ended up getting that tier 1 tower, didn't push for tier 2 there. Although Briarcliff won the fight, they couldn't again get the subsequent objective. They were just way too low here. BCU have the right mindset with this TF, with this Kane, right? At the blink of an eye, we're going to be able to dump on your carries. But Purdue Northwest, with this Aphelios, have been kiting back very effectively. And Fizz, now with the Zhonya's, is going to survive. Ankh, once again, being subjected to this beating.
Is it bait or is it engage? After the death, I'm going to engage, and not a good one. Pete goes down as well for the sins of his top laner. I was considering this game a millennium puzzle, given the fact that I can't solve it for the life of me. But, I mean, it seems like just depending on the locale, depending on the available spells, we just get a toss of a die to determine what we've got going here. And Baron going the way of Purdue Northwest is not something that I could have foreseen. This is insane.
It looks like the Millennium scales have tipped in the favor of Purdue Northwest here. Briarcliff University now down 1.5k gold here. All right, guys, I promise no more Yu-Gi-Oh puns. I promise. No more. We've subjected you to too much, and now we have to subject Fizz to this gold lead that he's gotten himself here. 4-0-4 for Fizz. He has got the Magi stacks going. He's got the Zhonyas. He's ready to tango.
This is a Fizz that is looking to fight, and you may be subject to flame, but it appears like he's subject to just kills on the map based on the first 25 minutes. I mean, this is a dream scenario for the power level of this Fizz, and yeah, you're looking at a slippery team on the side of Briarcliff, but when you land the Chum of Waters, like, you cannot. It's done. You've lost your ability to outplay the champion, and now the follow-up comes through. It is a Sejuani Glacial Prison. It is a depth charge, but now Ankh sees the fight front to back and opts in. Subject to Flame misses the Waters, but is able to engage somewhat relatively. The exhaust comes through, and he has to Zhonya's just to stay alive. Umbral Trespass locks down the Fizz as Zolani goes for the double kill. The triple coming through as well. Briarcliff rolls the fight in a lopsided 4v5. Mid lane going to be the focus, and another flip on a game that I've lost control on.
I don't think the game ends here. They've got a lot to push through here, but Purdue Northwest, somebody check Tiger Star's map. That Glacial Prison went straight into Raptors. Didn't hit anybody after that. Briarcliff just kind of rolled the fight with not too much lockdown available onto Zolani. She picks up another couple kills. They're going to pick up the tier 2 mid. They're going to pick up the tier 2 top. And now Briarcliff has got themselves a gold lead. Back and forth, haymaker after haymaker. Purdue and BCU do not fail to provide entertainment. Reed, both of these teams going back and forth at the 28-minute mark. The gold has not budged above 1.5 thousand.
we've got a gladiator of a match, and the lion is Purdue Northwest. Unfortunately, it looks like the gladiator came to play. For everybody at home, you said it perfectly. We are entertained. This is absolutely the series we wanted to see kicking off the MEC playoffs. And for a squad like this, where you lose game one after a rough early game and then everything goes flippy, I don't care what champion you're on. I don't care what gold lead you have. Your nerves come into play. Your comfortability in the game state comes into play. And if you're not of mind, if you're not ready for something like this, you will go down. You will lose to the opposition. And we see that here. The 5v5 appears apparent. The sides are flipped, but the flank belongs to Subjective Flame. The engage, though, is so quick as they go down. The damage comes through, and Cylindric does survive for a short moment and goes down right after the Hextech Drake, affording Zolani an escape as Yudon Begon does not have that luxury. 5 alive on the side of Briarcliff, only 2 for Purdue Northwest, as we are literally coin flipping back and forth. You win one, I win one, you win one, I win one, and Dragons go the way, Baron that way as well. Ankh now deciding mid lane was worth more than his own life, and the damage is actually kind of crazy. I got a little scared there that this 4-1-5 Fizz was not able to take him down 2v1.
Yeah, I think the no void staff is going to be kind of the head slapper for Subjective Flame here, right? Opted in for that Medjai's, then goes the alternator. I assume he's building what is supposed to be a Shadow Flame here into some of the shielding of Zolani and Yumi here, right? They have access to that shield. It's going to try to get that max magic pen, but has kind of delayed this power spike and really delayed himself, right? 2-stack Medjai's. I'm sorry, I'm not afraid of that book at all. It is not worth it right now, and I think not that purchase alone obviously doesn't lose them the game, but I think Subjective Flame was in a very prime position to carry when he was at that 4-1-4, 4-0-4 mark, but Purdue Northwest just haven't been able to get the engage they want. Briarcliff, like you said, turning some of these key fights around, getting that dragon on top of the fight win, getting that turret down tier 1, picking that turret up in tier 2. Although Purdue Northwest picked up that Baron earlier on, it's just back and forth for these two teams, just capitalizing on some gross mispositioning, I would say.
Yeah, for Purdue Northwest, if you are Subjective Flame, if you are Cylindric, you're starting to run out of options as far as your flank targets. It is a TF with Zonia's, but I'm going to have to be quiet here as Ankh sets up the call of the Forge God. It does land, and it delays the re-engage from Purdue Northwest. Autofill Pete surviving 4v1 at this point with the Umbral trespassing. Gets back to the front line where Zolani is shredding Purdue Northwest. One goes down. The second one follows. Sejuani next up to fall as Zolani once again triple kills through Purdue Northwest as Briarcliff once again takes a fight. The first back-to-back fight win on this game. Not to mention this series, the middle turret going down, the middle inhibitor to follow. Yudon Begon has 5 seconds, but the Nexus might not have much longer than that.
The Nexus is gonna fall. The inhibitor turrets is gone. Nexus turret 1 taken. Nexus turret 2 taken. Udon Bedan can just watch as his team gets sent to the Shadow Realm. Lower bracket becomes your home. BCU take game 2. They take the 2-0, going to the winner's bracket read. Zolani shoots him down.
I mean, you gotta be kidding me. The craziest 2 I think I've ever seen. The most flip-flop I've ever participated in on a cast like that. I hate to toss it back, but like there was some serious mind control going on, and I don't remember. I watched maybe 2 seasons of the show, but like there was one thing that had the little mind control, whatever that was happening. They were just tossing it back and forth, like just some odd engages, some crazy stuff. But whenever you don't know what you're doing, I'll throw you another historic league quote. The enemy team doesn't either. And that, like, those fights just came down to straight reflexes, to improvisation. And I mean, this is Alani 2 games in a row on the Zeri with the Yuumi backpack, thanks to Bolko. And once again, proving that when it comes to late game, they've got it in spades. And once again, you know, no card jokes. I'm done, I swear. But we're going to toss it to a break. But before that, once again, I do want to thank our sponsors, AVDG. Their leading nationwide commercial and residential smart system integrator. Spanning from coast to coast, AVDG is able to meticulously design and engineer systems, provide expert technology, design services, professional installation, and world-class service across the U.S. Through distinctive designs, AVDG pioneers technology to empower and end users to become to operate systems effectively, improve connectivity, and position their investment for maximum long-term success. AVDG maintains and secures the success and their technologies through their extensive Simplicity service division that works continuously to monitor, adjust, and prevent system errors. Thank you once again, AVDG, for the sponsorship. That's it for me, Shibby. I am heading off to work, job number 2. But I can't have asked for a better series to do it on. Such incredible entertainment from either side, and it looks to be an incredible playoff bracket here for the MEC. We're going to toss it to a break before our next series showcasing, and please correct me if I'm wrong here. It is
we actually do have the interview.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. We do still have the interview. Should be good luck in that interview, though. I appreciate it.
I got it. I got it.
I do have that out. But once again, thanks to Hyper, our producer, and everybody watching. We've got more MEC action on the way. We will see you soon, and I will see you later.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to week 1 of the MEC playoffs. We just got off an exciting series from Briarcliff University and Purdue Northwest with BCU take the 2-0. I am Shibby's Cast here with a player from the winning squad, the man, the myth, the legend, BCU's own Maces, who has played multiple roles. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I am doing fantastic. I know you don't got the camera ready. And first question I want to ask is your guys' season has a bit of musical chairs, right? Mace, as we mentioned, how your top side has kind of been flipping around everywhere. Onk in the top, in the jungle, right? You've played mid, you've played top. We've seen Pete go jungle, ADC. Has all of that kind of culminated now to this kind of lineup to where this is the one where you're saying, hey, this is our playoff roster, this is our playoff starting 5, or is that even subject to change going forward?
Well, I probably shouldn't say too much about that. We have a lot of players that are capable on a lot of different things. But for these games, I think this was definitely the ideal roster. I think everyone, like, Onk performed in top, P performed in jungle. I was really happy on the champs and mid lane, so yeah, I think it just worked for this, but we still have a little more spice.
A little more spice included. And now kind of focusing on it into this game, it seems like you guys kind of ran the same draft 2 games in a row, right? Were you guys ever kind of worried about kind of that early game pressure that Purdue Northwest are bringing on, right? They bring the Draven in game 1, the Philios in game 2. You guys clearly kind of fell behind from the first 15 minutes. Was that always something that you guys were kind of prepared for? Like, hey, we're drafting this kind of high scaling composition. We've got yourself, right, on a mid laner that can impact the map. It seems like that strategy was kind of pre-prepped and ready to go. Was that the game plan all along? Were there some wrenches thrown in, or was it everything just kind of went according to plan for you guys?
It's a bit of both. I felt like
Mhm.
I should be on a champion that has a lot of agency and can help my jungler and my side lanes kind of scale into the game. I was never really game 2. I was not concerned about the game state. I felt like we always had a solid control on the game. Game 1 was definitely a lot harder. We were definitely a lot more behind just due to random stuff that was
Yeah.
happening. But I think it's a style that we're very comfortable on, and you know, if there was a game 3, we'd probably be locking in the same exact champions.
Confidence in your champions, right? And obviously, were you guys kind of surprised that they let the Yumi through twice along with the Kayn? Were you expecting it to get banned out? Like, I felt like Zolani, one of her best champions and premier champions, has been the Zarya. Now with the Yumi buffed up, obviously now Pete picking up the Kayn alongside the Viego. Were you guys just surprised that they just let it through? Do you think it was ego kind of for them, or do you think they definitely had something prepared and they wanted to execute on that and they weren't afraid of the Yumi?
I definitely think that they made a mistake. I don't think that their answers were nearly good enough to deal with the Yumi. But, you know, you can only have so many bans. And when you're banning out Cassante, Alawi, Zyra, you're going to end up leaving a lot of very strong champions like the Yumi. So we're happy to play, you know, some meta picks that they leave up because they're banning out, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, and you know, final question here. I got a chance to speak to your coach, right? He mentioned some spicy strategies. He mentioned that you guys have some stuff that doesn't involve Skarner. I mean, kind of tell me the impact Afternoon has kind of on your roster, on your team. Is he the mad scientist? Is he the chemist in the laboratory? Or is he kind of like, is he the one kind of pulling you guys back and saying, wait a minute, guys, that's a little too crazy?
I would say that he gives us the freedom to be our own mad scientist. This is definitely like, we're a very player-driven team where, you know, sometimes, I mean, most of the time I have the strongest voice in like the kind of weird stuff we're doing. But, you know, the Kayn coming out today, that wasn't really expected from us, but our jungler was like, okay, let's rip the Kayn Yumi, like, let's do it. But he definitely has a hands-off approach that lets us experiment a lot more. And I think that's what's allowed us to diverge from, like, you know, what's standard in competitive play. And that's kind of one of our secrets to success.
Yeah, I think, you know, Mac has you as his dark horse pick. You guys are probably one of the most exciting teams to kind of watch alongside someone like Ottawa, who has very kind of varied composition here. Well, congrats on the 2-0. A hard-fought game 1 and game 2. You guys come out with the win. You guys are coming into winner's bracket. Before we let you go, do you have anyone to shout out? Any family members, players, whatever? You go for it.
Shout out my team. I think they did really well this series. I'm really like happy that, you know, I think we're having a lot more fun playing the game, and that's super good. Shout out my family, New York. I know they're watching right now. Hi Dad, hi Jenna. That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you so much to everybody watching. Maces, thank you so much for conducting the interview. And with that being the end of our series, the stream will actually be cut for a little bit to kind of fix up some of the stuttering. We will be back for our second playoff match. I will not be joining you, but we will have a great set of casters there. We're going to have some exciting matches. Our second match of the day starting at 4 p.m. Central. So go grab a snack, go to the gym, pick up some Froyo or some Jamba Juice or whatever you kids are doing nowadays, but be here for 4 p.m. Central. Midwest Esports Conference Series 2. It's gonna be a banger, I promise.